Hello, it's Sammy here, and today I'm delighted to be joined by comedian Tez Ilyas. First of all, Tez, how are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm really well. Thank you very much. Sorry for joining you a bit late. I've had a
Nah,
mad day of sleep, press ups, and other podcasts to record. But it's good to be here.
thank you. Well, I've spoken to Dane Baptiste, obviously, you're good friends with him, and other presenters, YouTubers, whatnot. They've spoken about them being in lockdown, and they talked about how they actually become more proactive and active during the lockdown than they would have been otherwise because they would have been busy with other things. How have you been with the lockdown?
You know what, Sammy? Similarly, I've found like I've had a lot more time to do other things that have been on my to do list.
Mhm.
So I'm writing a book,
Yeah.
which is really exciting. I've started my own podcast, sort of Instagram live, YouTube thing, interviewing people a bit like this,
Yeah.
which is really fun and exciting. I've released my comedy special,
Yeah.
which I've been meaning to do for a while. I've started exercising nearly every single day. Man, it's been good. It's been all right. Like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, these circumstances aren't ideal, and I can't
Yeah.
wait for things to get back to normal because I miss performing live comedy. But you got to make the most of what life gives you, and I feel like I'm in an okay place.
And obviously, we're like living in crazy times with everything that's going on. How have you found to just keep yourself just like sane almost?
Yeah, man, it is crazy. Like I found at the beginning, I was watching so much news. Like I wanted to
Mhm.
know all the information. And then when Ramadan started, when I started fasting
Yeah.
and I started concentrating more on meditating and praying and stuff like that, I found like I was watching the news a lot less.
Hmm.
And then suddenly my mood was better and I was
Yeah.
feeling less stressed and less anxious. So something about we know it's happening,
Hmm.
but we also know that in reality, individually, there's not a lot we can do to help the situation.
Yeah.
So why stress and be anxious by watching every bit of news about it?
Hmm.
So distract yourself. Go for the walks in the park, exercise, meditate, cook, watch TV. Everyone's got a to-do list. Everyone's got a to-watch list of TV shows
Yeah.
they want to watch, right? Start doing that. Start watching all those Netflix films and TV shows and the Amazon Prime stuff. So there's so much good stuff out there. So there are a lot of distractions, and I've been distracting myself.
Yeah. So you just mentioned Ramadan. How do you find it? Because it's different because you can't go to the mosque or it's not like got the same feel to it. Because we were speaking to this like my family, we were talking about it didn't feel exactly the same. But how did you find it? You.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the same, but again, you got to make the most of the situation. So I really like the fact that I was at home
Hmm.
the entire month because usually that isn't the case. Usually I'm on the road. There's some fasts that I've opened my fast on stage, Sammy. I've been at a gig and my stage time coincides with sunset, so I have to take a bottle of water with me, and then I let someone know in the audience. I'm like, let me know when it's 9:07,
Hmm.
and then they're like, oh, it's 9:07 now, and I have my sip of water and I let them know I've been fasting all day. So it was just nice to be at home the entire month. That was nice. I mean, yeah, there were aspects of it that I missed, like going to the mosque and seeing my friends and having those community gatherings where you eat
Hmm.
together and stuff. That was definitely a big loss. But it was just nice to be at home with my mum the entire month. That
Yeah.
was really nice.
Now, talk about stuff that you've announced. Of course, you just mentioned the stand-up special is going to be exclusive
Mm,
on YouTube. Remember to
mm.
watch it. Um, how did you find that process of releasing something exclusive on YouTube and that stand-up special? When was that in the works for, and how long was that in the works for?
So crazy. I recorded that in 2018. So on 2018 at a big nationwide tour, and I wanted to film it. So we did at the South Bank Centre in London in May 20. So 2 years ago, May 2018, we filmed that. And then we all got busy with other things, and we left the editing a bit later than we should have.
Hmm.
And then we were kind of thinking, where do we want it to go? At the moment in my life, I'm not quite ready to launch it on like a big streaming platform like Netflix.
Hmm.
The BBC and Channel 4, they don't really take specials that much anymore, or
Yeah.
they're taken from the bigger names. So that really left YouTube as an avenue. And I know comics who release stuff on YouTube and it's gone really well for them. And
Yeah.
I'm still at the point in my career where I want people to discover me. So I didn't want to go behind a paywall. There were other options that we could have gone behind paywalls, but I thought the best thing to do at this point in my career is to put it on YouTube. It's a show I'm really proud of, and I want as many people as possible to watch it and share it with their friends. And YouTube's great because you can cast YouTube to your TV, or you can watch YouTube from your TV app on your YouTube app on TV. So people can watch it as if they were watching Netflix. They can watch my show on their big widescreen TV. So in that way, I don't think I've really lost anything. So I'm really looking forward to people watching it and giving me feedback. And I hope people enjoy it as much as I'm proud of it.
And for you, is that something that was a plan for since you've come into comedy? You want to get that stand-up special, that thing that everyone goes and watches just for you?
Yeah, definitely, man. Like, I remember watching Russell Peters' special in the mid-noughties, and the impact that had on me, watching Peter Kay, watching Eddie Murphy, watching Chris Rock. You know, all of my favorite comedians had their own shows that you could watch on videotape or DVD or something. And I thought, oh, I can't wait. I really want to release my own DVD. Obviously, we're in a different life now where DVDs aren't really a thing. So this is now the equivalent of it, is streaming it. And I wanted to make it as accessible as possible for people. Hence, I put it on YouTube. But yeah, that's definitely, I mean, I don't want to stop here. I want to release 4 or 5 specials, you know, and ultimately the dream one day is to get my own special on Netflix. That would be amazing. Or you know, a big streaming platform like that. I would love that, man.
And I just want to go back to the beginning because, of course, you worked at the Home Office for quite a few years. And then I was watching the Instagram live that you do with Nabil Abdul Rashid, and he was speaking about his first gig and how badly it went. And for him, he went in so overconfident and it just backfired. For you, looking back to your first gig, do you remember it, or was it as bad as his, or did you actually look back at it with quite fond memories?
No, I look back at it really fondly, man. So I came to comedy by doing a stand-up workshop. So I knew nothing about stand-up comedy. I didn't know anything about the open mic scene. The only thing I knew was the people that I saw on TV, and I had no idea how you get to that stage. Like, I had no idea the process they went through and all the years they spent working on their craft to get to the point where they could release a video or a DVD or be on Live at the Apollo or whatever. I had no idea about any of that stuff. But at some point in 2010, I was Googling writing workshops, and I came across a stand-up workshop, and I thought, that sounds really fun. So I went on it 1 day a week for 6 weeks. It doesn't teach you how to be funny. It teaches you the mechanics of stand-up, which is slightly different to just being funny. And at the end of that workshop, there was a showcase where everyone on the workshop, they invite their family and friends, and whatever they'd created on the workshop, they did in front of their family and friends. So that was my first gig, in front of 70 people who knew what was going on. They knew these are all new comics. So it was quite a supportive audience. And it went really well, man. I was really pleased with it. And that really gave me the confidence to carry on. And after that, I found the open mic scene in London and really threw myself into it and just started gigging non-stop since then.
For you, because also in that live, you were talking about the different circuits, the comedy circuits, and how both of you almost have to change or tweak some sort of like small things to adapt to certain circuits, because obviously not all people are the same. How do you find that, adapting just to certain different people, different types of people?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a big thing in comedy about reading the room. And you should read the room, and it comes with experience as well, because early on in your career, you only have what you have. You have the limited amount of material you have, and you have the limited amount of stagecraft that you have. And so adapting to different audiences is quite difficult, and that's part of the learning process. But there comes a point where you have enough experience, you have enough stagecraft, and you have enough material that you can you can manage the different audiences and different expectations. Like, I do a lot of comedy gigs on the Muslim circuit, on the Muslim charity circuit, which are family-friendly gigs. So it means I cannot swear. I cannot do any material that is rude. But a big part, if you see me at a mainstream gig, at Top Secret or the Comedy Store or somewhere like that, I would do swear as part of my set. And there might be parts of my set that are not suitable for certain audiences. So it's just about learning that, okay, I've been booked for this show by these people. They have a certain standard and values that they want to uphold. So I'll make sure that I don't cross that, because I'm here to do a job and they've paid me to do that job. So yeah, but all those things come with experience, and no one can get it right the first time they do it. I remember I struggled when I initially, because I started on the mainstream circuit, but when I started doing gigs for the Muslim circuit or Asian circuit, I struggled initially because I didn't have the experience to be able to change up my material and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely, you have to definitely have a few bad gigs before the good times come rolling.
For you, what were your worst encounters that you had in terms
Mm.
of circuits and just your performance in itself?
Bro, I've had some stinkers in it. Like the way I explain it to people is like everyone has a bad day at the office, in it.
Yeah.
No matter what your line of work is, you have a bad day at the office. It's just that ours is in front of a lot of people and they're watching and all eyes are on you. So it's a bit exposing. But yeah, man, I've had gigs where people no one's laughed. I've had
Yeah.
gigs where people have heckled me. I've had gigs where I've been invited in to do a corporate gig by like big companies and I'm the only comedian there and the room is not set up right.
Yeah.
You're imposing comedy on them rather than them coming to watch comedy.
Yeah.
So you got all different characters in the room and it just goes really badly, man. So I've had all the different experiences of bad gigs, man. But all those things make you stronger. There's not a single comedian, whoever's listening to this, there's not a single comedian that you like or you respect or is your favorite that stands on stage and does stand-up comedy that hasn't had bad gigs. It happens to everyone.
100%. Yeah. And just talking about those early days, did you have like a one person that almost took you under your wing? Because again, in that interview with Nabil Abdul Rashid, he was talking about how he had someone that just took under his wing, gave him advice, told him what to do, what not to do. What did you have that sort of person for you, or was it just a range of different people, even if they weren't in the comedy scene?
In comedy, really, it was my peers that kept me going. So with my peers and my friends that I made in the circuit, we always shared experiences and shared contacts and shared stories to help us, grow and take those next steps. I wouldn't say I had a comedy mentor as such. But once I signed to my management agency, big up Polly and Gelly, they obviously helped me a lot and guided me and have guided my career ever since. And so they're kind of the people that have guided me through this. But on the circuit, really, it was learning a lot on the job. And obviously I got bits of advice from different people. I'm very grateful for that. But I can't say there was any one person who really took me under their wings and became a mentor to me. I had a lot of different people help me.
And you just mentioned your management. There'll be a few comedians watching this, like young comedians, and they'll be wondering because they'll probably have offers from different management, thinking which one to choose. What made you choose UTC Artist Management?
That's a good question. The belief they showed in me and the vision they had for my comedy was unlike anyone else who I spoke to. So I felt like with a lot of, if I'd made some other choices, they would have seen me as a commodity, someone they could make money of, someone they could help promote and help build a career. But also partly it was like, yeah, you're going to make us some money. You make money, we'll make money. Everyone will be happy. Whereas with UTC, it felt different. It felt like they had a vision. They had values. They wanted to create something bigger than just lining each other's pockets. Like it just felt special, man. And it was the right choice for me.
How early on in your career was that?
I was 3.5 years in.
So before then, you just go into different clubs and just seeing what you could get.
Well, no, it was mainly emailing people.
Yeah.
Or people, or word of mouth. You email people, you get a 10 spot, like an open spot. You do well at that, you might get another open spot. A couple of open spots later, you get a paid spot. People who've seen you and like you, they recommend you and stuff. You email loads of promoters, some email back, some don't. So just a lot of basically hustling.
And just going back to those early days, how often were you performing?
So my first gig in June 2010. So it's my comedy birthday next week. We're recording this on the 11th, and I'm 10 years old on the 16th, which is the day I released my special. That's why I did it like that. So obviously the first few months I didn't really know anyone, didn't really make any contacts. I think in the first 2-3 months I did like 6 gigs, so like 2 a month. And then once I made the contacts and learned where the gigs were, and I could email people and they could give me gigs, I built it to like 2 a week, 3 a week, 4 a week, 5 a week. So I was probably averaging like 3 gigs a week.
And for you, for other comedians, for young comedians coming up, is that the most important thing, just getting out there?
Yeah, if you want to, I mean, for a lot of young comics now, they have a lot of different avenues. They've got the social media, they've got TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. and there's probably things I don't even know about now because things move. Snapchat, things move on so quickly. So they can film themselves doing little sketches, doing little vlogs, doing little characters, and just get it out there like that. If you want to do live stand-up comedy, live stand-up on stage, you have to write, you have to get on stage and perform. There are no shortcuts.
And I just wanted to talk about, because a lot of people will know you, of course, from stand-up comedy, but also man like MOBEEN. For you, I want to know what was the process of getting into that? Because acting and comedy, they overlap and overlay in some aspects, but they are completely different in others. So what was the process in getting into that? And was that always on the horizon?
No, I say this first. I think there's a lot of, like I said, there is a lot of overlap between comedy and acting, and a lot of comedians make really good actors. If you look at the US, people like Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, because when you're performing on stage, you are acting. It's an act. You are constantly acting, and you're doing that 2-3 times a week for years. And so you're honing an act. You're learning how to be expressive. You're learning how to modulate your voice. You're learning how to do different voices. You're telling a story, and you're doing sad bits and funny bits and loud bits and quiet bits and expressing emotion through that. So I think that's part of the reason why comedians do make really good actors. So for me, I met Guz in 2015. He reached out to me. We started chatting. We got on really, really well. We were from a similar background, working class Asian, Pakistani, Muslim. There weren't really anyone else like us on the circuit. Some people had some of that, but not all of that. So we got on straight away. We had a shorthand with each other like you do when you meet someone from your own community. So we just got on like a house on fire straight away. And we just vowed to work with each other and put each other in each other's things. So I put him in some stuff. He put me in some stuff. And then Man Like MOBEEN took off. After we did the pilot, a few months later, BBC Three said we want to commission a full series. And then obviously Gus stayed because it was his show. But they rewrote the show. And the only other thing that stayed was me, because Gus really liked working with me, and they were impressed with what I did in the pilot, even though my character changed for the actual series. And yeah, that's how I got it, man. I got no prior acting experience really, apart from a couple of comedy shorts that I made, one of which had Gus in it, and just acting on stage. But luckily, people really liked what I did, man, and it's resonated with people, and the show's been a really good hit, man. And a lot of people have really, they're really big fans of the show and really big fans of what I did, which I'm really grateful for.
For you, was it important to act? If you were going to act, you were going to act in that sort of show because it resonates with so many people across the country, like whatever color, class, whatever, it just resonates with everyone. Was that a main thing? Were you thinking, if I'm going to act, I've got to do this?
Well, to be honest, like, it wasn't like I had a lot of options. We were so grateful that it was such a good quality show, and people really liked it. And that was great. But I would have done it anyway because I got on well with Gus so much. And similarly, I would have taken other opportunities if they were available, but they just weren't. So I took the opportunities that were available to me, which is really, really important thing to do. And I'm so grateful that Gus gave me the opportunity to do that. But also, we're really good friends, so we're always going to give each other those opportunities. So it was just really grateful that it was such a hit. And then people could see that I had this ability to do that. And it was so good playing against type, like playing someone that I'm not sure that actually I can act. And I'm not just playing a version of myself. So yeah, I was really happy, man.
And also you've presented shows, Tez O'Clock show on Channel 4. You did that. How did you find doing that? Because speaking to comedians and presenters that have come from a different side to like the professional TV route, how do you find it? Because some people say like that's their goal, that's their plan, to go there and present a show on mainstream TV. They get there and it's not what they think, and they don't almost have that sort of creative control and freedom. For you, was it different or was it the same?
Yeah, man. No, I was really lucky. I got a lot of creative control and freedom on that show. It's probably like 80% it was the show I wanted to make, which is high. That's a high number. I was really proud of it. And I can look back really fondly on that. I mean, we're still talking about what we might do with that next, but even if nothing else comes of it and they don't go further with it, I'm really proud of what we did, the work on that show. I think it speaks for itself. And everyone who worked on the show really, really enjoyed working on it. And everyone who watched it really loved it.
You say someone came up to you and maybe 50% of the show was something that you wanted to see, but the other 50% probably not what is really your style, would you still go for it?
It depends on what that other 50% is. If the other 50%, if it was just a matter of comedy taste, and that's one thing. If it's a matter of going against my values and what I hold dear to me, then I wouldn't do it. But if it was just, okay, 50% is the show that I want to make, but 50% is the sort of comedy that I'm not really into, that's okay. That's, you make compromises in life, and you've also got to make money and stuff. But if it was 50% of his show is actually against the values of what I believe and what people dear to me believe, then that is something that I wouldn't do.
And that's important to you, isn't it? The values that you're keeping, because you don't want to get so far and almost forget what really brought you there.
Yeah, definitely, man. Because as I said before, I'm a working class Asian, Pakistani, Muslim, northern guy. So all of those things are important to me, and I don't want to sell any of those things out. I want to be able to hold my head high in Blackburn, my hometown, and not worry about people being mad at me. It's really important to me that my family can live here in peace and not feel any sense of shame for what I've done. And I wouldn't want to do that, man. And also, I represent myself in comedy. I do stuff for myself, but I also understand that it's bigger than me. Like it or lump it, people who from our backgrounds, they are held up as ambassadors for their culture, whether they want to or not. And so even if I don't want to, it's there anyway. I don't have a choice. And so I'm always conscious of the way that I represent the community and the culture.
And you said that you are northerner, working class, Pakistani, Muslim. When you're all of those things and you've had a lot of support from people from those communities, have you, at the start, did you ever almost not really project yourself in the way you wanted it to? Or was that like a almost growing process?
Yeah, man, it's part of the learning process, isn't it? You, at the beginning of any job, no one really knows what they're doing. They're just trying their best. And I think also for like the Asian, when I started in 2010, there was only really Paul Chowdhury and Imran Yusuf and Paul Singh and Shazia Mirza that were doing this. There weren't really any household names. Ramesh, Nish, even Paul Chowdhury's career kicked off a bit later. There wasn't really any big Asian names, apart from Goodness Gracious Me, that was 12 years earlier. There weren't any Muslim names. There weren't any big Asian names doing this. So I think for our community, a lot of it was like, what the hell are you doing? Because they couldn't see the vision, or they couldn't see it because there was no role model whose footsteps I was following in. So I think, thankfully that's changed now. Like, there's obviously Paul Chowdhury and Ramesh and Nish and me and Guz and also the black guys like Mo Gilligan and Dane Baptiste. So there were a lot of people to look up to, thankfully. But that wasn't the case as much when I was starting off. But so I think that was part of the audience as well. They were kind of like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not that good." Also, I've been going like a minute, so obviously I wasn't that good. But people expect, if you say I'm a stand-up comedian, they expect you to be like polished straight away. But like, no, I'm a stand-up comedian on a journey to becoming a good stand-up comedian. And some would say I'm still on that journey, but
Tez, you mentioned you were writing a book. You're in the process of writing a book.
Yes.
How is that going for you?
I'm right at the beginning of it, so I don't know when this is going out, but when we're talking, I'm right at the beginning of it. I've started writing this week. I've been reading a few of the books for inspiration, and I've been planning it and doing the skeleton outline and the chapters and what might go where and stuff. So the proper writing now starts now. And it's like 18,000 words I need to write. So it's quite daunting, but I'm sure once I get into the thick of it, it'll come, because, millions of people before me have written a book, and I'm sure they all found it, the start of it, daunting. So I'm sure I will get to it, but I just need to go through this process of the next few months and get the draft in, and then do the rewrites and do the redrafts. And I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be released next year, like May next year. So there's quite a while for it yet, but I've just got to do the hard work now.
And what books are you like reading and looking over, like analyzing in terms of inspiration?
So the book that I'm writing is a biography about my teenage years, written in diary form.
Okay.
It's almost like a capital diary at the time from that perspective. So one inspiration has been Adrian Mole. The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, age 13 and 3/4. Obviously, that's fiction. This is going to be factual. Adam Kay's book, This Is Gonna Hurt, about he kept a diary of when he was a junior doctor. And then Robert Webb's book, How Not to Be a Boy.
Yeah.
Again, a biography about his childhood. So yeah, man, there's a few different things that I've read that have just helped me and formulate ideas and just give me an idea of what to write about and what not to write about. So yeah, it's been good.
Tez, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming onto the channel. Again, remember to check out Tez's stand-up special, which will be out on YouTube. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, man, just follow me. I'm at Tez Ilyas everywhere. TezIlyas.com is my website. You can sign up to my mailing list, which I do like infrequently just to update you on big things that are happening. And yeah, sign up and subscribe to my YouTube channel where I've got my special, and I'm also dropping my weekly interview series. So once you listen to Sammy's interviews, come and listen to my interviews.
Yeah, they'll all be in the link in the description below. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe as usual. And remember to follow Tez's links, and remember to check out his exclusive YouTube stand-up special. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. See you.
Peace.